It's been a hard 3+ years. This is Mac Mulla, and I'm standing out here. My son is being wrongfully accused on a death by delivery charge. Um, a cousin had something to do with the crime and maliciously involving my son, connecting him to his crime. This person can go around making laughs at this and going on and telling people that he knows Mac Moola is innocent, but he's maliciously going to continue to frame him with this death by delivery charge. I also been threatened by the system to force my son to take this charge. I've been through so much, lost 100,000 seeking help for my son, and they was just thieving my money. No one cares. My son's been treated different than others. His rights been taken from him. Everybody has rights. Every citizens have rights. He's not an animal. Never have no prior felony, anything in that nature. He didn't even get a trial, bail, detention, bail. The system creates the story they want. They can hold the individual that have multi felonies and say, let me borrow you for this case. And it's wrong. And I just feel like my son didn't deserve a superseding indictment because he wasn't willing to take the charge that the prosecutor wanted him to take. And because of that, he's facing multiple charges. The discrimination in the justice system needs to end. We all human beings, we all the same. We all breathe the same, sleep the same. We all the same. And I just feel like my son been handled wrong by the system. They discriminating against him. Um, and I will stand for Mac Moola to the very end, and I will not give up. I'm not going away. I don't care how many threats you make to hurt my life, And I also want to say this: my son have two children um, that are missing him. Um, you have his son that's not taking this very well, acting out on school. Things are not going well for him, and he have a sister, he have a brother, he have families. My son have a family, like everyone else has a family, and I think it's unfair that a person that have multi felonies, all kinds of history with his record, can get out and have a freedom, but my son don't get a chance. I just want the person that's wrongfully accusing my son, because my son is being framed, to be held accountable. To be held accountable. You can't tell the world the story of the truth and then sit in court and lie on someone. It's not tolerated. I think it's wrong. And he's fighting himself to get out of his own crime. Hey, if I get this person, I can get a nice kind of cut on my sentencing. I just thank everybody for your support. And I also want to state one more thing. I'm sorry that my son, everyone that knows my son, Mac Moola, knows his heart. Everyone knows his heart. And now he did a lot of charity for the community. He gave back to the community for so long. And it seems to that y'all forgot to add that in the media. Y'all forgot to add the goodness that he done for the community. Charities for the homeless, back to school supplies, Thanksgiving, you name it. His gaming store was not something that he used to make money. He used that for kids won't get in trouble after school. For kids could have an activity after school. I just don't want my son, Mac Moola, to be like half dozens of people that sitting. You know how many people sitting in the system that's being wrongfully accused? My son is one of them. My son is one of them. Has such a good soul. Mac Mulla uh, had so many people cook trays, and we will stand in the square and just pass the trays out, sandwiches, hot plates, you name it. And it's times that he'll just sit there for hours. He enjoys helping so many people. And the Thanksgiving, that's what really bothers my son, people that don't have. He's just giving out turkey, you name it, hot plates. We don't even enjoy Thanksgiving because we're in the square handing out food. Let's do back to school supplies. You know, there's single mothers out there that sometimes can't afford book bags, pencils, crayons. He's out there with book bags, tons of things for these kids, and kids love him. They appreciate him. Even in his store, he did a gaming store for kids to go after school and have an activity to do. That wasn't just a business. It was just he was so happy to know that he can get the kids to go there and not be doing awful things, just to keep them off the streets. He's in jail and he'll give everybody his last. And he made me laugh in a conversation about a couple of days ago. He said, you know, that a few people came and stopped me, and say, Mac Moola, like you a person that never brags. You a person that give anybody your last. It could be your last, and you just give it to somebody. You're always trying to help, even in jail. You trying to help the whole entire jail. But something good came out of this because he wants to help people in the justice system now. There's a lot of families going through what we're going through, and no one can imagine the pain that we've been going through. The government, the U.S. attorney involved in the case, she gets home to go home and be with her family. The attorneys that were involved, they go home to be with their family. Why no one has helped him in 3+ years? You have no rights. I mean, all your rights been stripped from you. It's unfair, and I will keep standing for my son each and every day. I'm not gonna give up until they return me back my son. I want my son back. The support that I have is so amazing because these people just stopped what they're doing and took time to support my son and support me. And you don't know how much y'all mean to me for this. My family and everybody that's supporting us. I thank you so much. And thank you for coming out also.
Everybody, just want the public to understand that myself, I did time myself. I did over 31 years, 9 months in the prison system. So I guess you can say I know a little about the system, whether it's state or federal, because I know how the law works. And I'm a good friend to the Lunas, James Rodriguez, her uncle, and her family. And Mac Moola, everybody knows about Mac Mulla. He's an artist. He's not just a person, he's an artist. He would have been a big artist. Unfortunately, an incident occurred when somebody lost their life on fentanyl. And the bad thing about that, the government knows who actually did them. And the bad part about this is that they overextend. A lot of times the prosecutors overextend the charge to other individuals, which is not a good thing. What we want the public to understand is a possible wrongful conviction is about to happen. And they're talking over 20 years and better on a death by delivery charge here in Pennsylvania. He's in the federal court right here in Middle District, Pennsylvania. Mac Moola is in the Lackawanna County Prison right now, unfortunately for 3 long years. And here's the thing, what I need the public to understand, though, about how the system works. If your help, which is your lawyer, your officer of the court, who's an attorney, supposed to help you protect your rights, your 4th, your 5th, your 6th, your 8th, your 14th Amendment rights, every human being has constitutional rights, especially in the United States. And if you are incarcerated or accused of an allegation of a crime, you're afforded either pay for an attorney or you get a court-appointed attorney. I need the public to understand something, that an attorney and lawyer, these people go to law school. They practice law. You study them. You take years to go to school and learn this stuff. All Mac Mulla wanted and his family was one of these attorneys who were trained in the law to help protect his right. Now, this is why I need the public to understand, too, when crimes happen, there are allegations until you have facts. Well, let's speak of some of the facts here. If the government knows who actually committed this crime, the death by delivery, I'm not going to get into his name and all that. That's unnecessary. You actually know who committed the crime. Why overextend to someone else? That doesn't make any sense. This is where the problem comes in now. Why create a superseding indictment if the person doesn't want to accept what you're offering? If you try to force someone, and it's called duress and coercion, if you apply that to any individual, you'll break that person mentally. So sometimes the individual will sign to something they don't want to. But here's the good thing. When you have someone to protect you, that person called officer of the court, the attorney, to undo that nonsense and stop the mess. And this is where the problem comes at with Mac Mulla. The system will have you believe that he had like 100 attorneys. Well, he only really had 3 attorneys, and now 2 CJA attorneys. The CJA is a court-appointed attorney who is an actual private attorney who actually does work for you. That person, he or she, is to protect your rights, your 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 14th Amendment rights. It's called due process. Now, unfortunately, for the 3 years that Mac Mulla has been sitting in there, he didn't get this. He wasn't afforded this. Why? Because for some strange reason, he was discriminated against. One particular attorney he had was a conflict of interest. Not only does he steal the money from the mother, but he didn't protect his rights. It's that simple. 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 14th Amendment right. Simple. Protect them. You're a trained attorney. You went to law school. Apply your craft. Just protect them. That's simple. Now the second attorney steals almost $40,000 from the family. All we need you to do, protect his rights. That's it. If he didn't commit the crime, it's simple. Get rid of the charge. It's that simple. It's not complicated. You don't need a PhD to understand the law either. A lot of this is basic. It's public information. You can Google half the laws and base everything on the computer. That's all he needed. Someone to protect his rights. Will I pay you or not? Protect my rights. And unfortunately, for the 3 years, he hasn't received that. Not at all. And now you're going on further 3 years. And now, unfortunately, he's at a legal dilemma. It's another legal dilemma. And now he has another attorney. You can mark this as almost a 5th or 6th attorney. So hopefully this year, 2025, now that we got some media coverage and people, good people coming around and they bring in good energy, we'll get some good feedback on his case. You got to understand how the prison system works and the jail system. It's about money. I'm just going to put it on the table. It's about money. People in the society need to understand that every person that's incarcerated, whether they're in jail or prison, they get money for that. The government gets money. The entity, the jail and the prison system gets money for that. Now, even though there may be some programs in the system, and they'll try to blame the prisoner or detainee, inmate, whatever, they don't even use that word no more a lot of time. They'll try to blame it on them for not taking advantage of this system. But here's the thing. If you're not putting the effort to help the individual avoid incarceration by making it available for them outside, job opportunities, education opportunities, even the score, basically even it out. That's what I'm trying to say. Even the platform out. Take the criminality aspect out of people's mind by giving them good opportunities out here in the system. This system, the free world system, so they won't have to commit a crime to get inside. So once they get in there, it's almost like slavery again. I'm sure people know what the 13th Amendment is, involuntary servitude. That's a legal form of slavery, involuntary servitude, 13th Amendment. But unfortunately, what happens is, even if you pay an attorney, or you get a court-appointed attorney. They're only afforded a certain amount of time to help you. And it's a thing called ineffective assistance in counsel. He has that issue right now. He has that issue right now. It's called ineffective assistance counsel. But here's the trick to ineffective assistance counsel. You can't plead that until after you're convicted. See, it's almost like a trap. It's almost a trap. So what we're trying to do to help Mac Moola is to get the right help, the right assistance from a trained attorney, which he has now. All he's asking, do your job, help him preserve his issues through pretrial motion, and undo the underhandedness. Everybody has rights. And they're called civil rights. They're called civil rights. And that will help break up the system, the involuntary servitude or the voluntary. Either way you look at it, it's a form of slavery. And it will help change the outcome of what, not only his case, because you got to understand it's bigger than just Mack Mulla. This is worldwide, especially in the United States. But I'm not here to speak on the world and everybody. I'm here to speak on Mack Mulla's case because he's the one that needs help right now. And if we can just get the proper help from the actual attorney, they can avoid the unnecessary incarceration he has right now. Prejudice, bias, discrimination, you got to factor that in. And unfortunately, this is what he experienced in his incarceration. Do more rallies, more protests, start lobbying in front of the court buildings, start pushing and putting more pressure on the actual attorneys and the actual legal system, the legislature, to change a lot of laws, especially the death by delivery law. You got to start protesting and do rallies against the system. That's the only way to change the system. You can't sit silent. It's not going to resolve itself. You can't be afraid. You got to get rid of that fear of coming out. Even though I did time before, that's one of the reasons why I'm not afraid, because I know how to litigate, I know how to put pressure, I know how to apply. I'm asking that the people in society do the same thing. Get rid of that fear, because nothing's going to change unless you push it to change. It's that simple. He hasn't had no proper motion practice in 3 years. That don't make sense. How you sitting in jail and you haven't had one lawyer file anything significant? Don't make sense. That's the first thing, even when we speak to other lawyers, the first thing the lawyer will say, how long he's been sitting in there? Nobody did what? Come on now. Come on. You can see it. It's evident. It's evident. There's a lot of issues he has. I can't really speak on them because he has an active case. As you know, you can't speak on certain issues on an active case, but the only thing I can speak on is the underhandedness of what's going on. He has a lawyer now, it's a CJA. He's trained in the law on federal practice. So hopefully things will go as planned this time on the sixth lawyer. It's like we keep going in circles.
My name is Joanne. I am with the Pennsylvania Prison Society. I'm also on the crisis intervention team of NEPA. I'm one of the founding members of the NEPA Prison Advocates. It's very important to me because it advocates for individuals on the inside in addition to their families on the outside. We try to advocate for social justice and criminal justice reform. The system oftentimes is against an I want to say alleged offender. In other words, guilty before and found innocent. It should be the opposite, as it was innocent before proven guilty, but it's the reverse. So not just helping someone that is unjustly charged or unjustly wrongfully incarcerated. Okay, we help with subpar medical condition, not like conditions inside of prisons and jails, where the healthcare is subpar, if not nil, for someone who is sick and suffering on the inside. Also, food, nutrition. To be honest, the food sucks, and I wouldn't feed it to my dog. That's how horrible. And then there is no nutritional value to the food, especially in county prisons. And it's sad that they try to cut costs by, not providing, say, milk, for one thing, for starters. Another thing that we try to do is reduce the cost. And what I mean by that is an individual incarcerated, they have needs, right? So if they're like, oftentimes their needs are not being met by what would be called, say, 3 hots and a cot, right? So oftentimes if a meal say is at 4 p.m. and say if they don't have any money, say, on their account, and they're unable to purchase any type of commissary items, right? They eat their last meal at 4 p.m. Now imagine breakfast isn't until, say, 7 or 8 the next day. That person goes hungry all throughout the night, and that's not right. Now, so we try to advocate for a better balanced, like, meal times, maybe like a snack bag for an indigent individual, We try to advocate for also commissary. We go to prison board meetings all the time with regard to everything that I'm saying to you. Maybe you've been to one or two, or whoever's watching, I don't know. But the commissary can be very expensive. So when we go to board meetings, we try to advocate to bring those expenses down, to make it more affordable for an incarcerated individual to get hygiene products, per se. And I'll give you an example. As an indigent individual, okay, they'll get a hotel travel bottle size of shampoo, say, okay? How do you expect that to last, especially for a female with hair, like down to here, right? It's not. That's one wash. And then they don't have any shampoo for the next month. They get a hotel bar of soap for a month, 5 envelopes, 5 stamps, 10 sheets of paper. So, and then now let me bring it to the commissary. If a person wants, say, a bag of instant coffee, you and I can go to a Dollar Tree and buy that bag of instant coffee for $1.50. A person incarcerated can buy that bag of coffee for $5. That's not fair. Now let's move on to the phone calls, okay? Phone calls in a county prison is somewhere like $5 a minute, okay? That's absurd. So an individual pays $15 to be able to talk to their child or their mom or their dad. $15 a phone call. See, prison is big business and capitalism at its finest. So if you follow the money, that's a tell-all, to follow the money, Now, it's up to the family member of an incarcerated individual to care for their loved one on the inside. So the family is paying, in essence, for that phone call. Okay, $15 a phone call. That's horrible to have an incarcerated person to try to stay in contact with their family. And it's important for an incarcerated individual to maintain contact with their family. It's important to their mental health and their physical health as well. So, and also what I try to do is, with regard to community, say, a returning citizen, to make it, the returning citizen, key things: job, housing, and a support network. Those 3 things are key to prevent recidivism, right? And to making the community safer, and for that individual to become a productive member of society again, So why I'm here today is justice.
Right.
For Mack Mulla, justice. He deserves his constitutional rights and his due process rights. I believe that they're in violation. The prosecution is in violation. And this gentleman over here, he was talking about ineffective assistance of counsel. That's another horrible thing that goes on where attorneys, they take a retainer from family members, okay, which is hurting the family member financially, say, okay? So they take the funds and then they don't do the work. And they're not held accountable for it, you know. And in and of itself, that would be, I would say, ineffective assistance of counsel, yes. But there's zero accountability for the money that they take, and they don't give an adequate representation of their client, okay? And when that happens, issues happen and real problems happen for that person who is going through the criminal justice system, you know, that they're not being represented as they should, you know, where perhaps an attorney is very lackadaisical with their defense, you know, and just giving poor advice or the easiest advice to you know, wrap up that case and have that person, you know, go away by doing time or whatever have you. You know, it's very sad what happens, and there needs to be change, big time. You know, by way of criminal justice reform. I mean, there has been some significant changes, you know, that I noticed at a state level, but the county, you know, that needs serious reform. On a federal level, I don't know. I don't have much experience at the federal level, but based on my recent experience, okay, that it's not fair either, you know, and they're trampling over the rights of the individuals that, you know, they may be wrongfully accused, or, you know, so free Mack Mulla.
My name is Frankie Malacaria, and I'm a member of Lackawanna County Prison Advocacy Group. We organize on behalf of the incarcerated folks at Lackawanna County Prison. And today we're here outside of the federal courthouse in Scranton, Pennsylvania, to hold a protest in the name of Mack Mulla, who has been incarcerated at Lackawanna County Prison for the last 3 years without trial. The prosecutors have consistently pushed back. So for 3 years, he has basically rotted in Lackawanna County Prison Detention Center, waiting for trial. Criminal justice system in this country is broken. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but there's two different justice systems, one for the poor and one for the rich. Mac was from a more affluent background. He might not have even been arrested for the false charges, but he most definitely wouldn't have been sitting there for 3 years awaiting trial. It's cruel and unusual punishment, and we're all entitled the right to a speedy trial. So that's why we're here today. In 2022, I spearheaded a campaign in Lackawanna County to limit the use of solitary confinement at Lackawanna County Prison. One of our slogans was solidarity, not solitary. There are many reasons why we want to curtail the use of solitary confinement. The United Nations claims that any extended stay in solitary over 14 days is tantamount to torture. We shouldn't be torturing folks in our community. This is a county jail. For the most part, people that are in there will be released back into our community. And in many cases, people are released straight from solitary confinement back into the community. These have incredibly awful mental health consequences that, if we want to keep our community safe, we shouldn't be treating people like that and then just tossing them back into the community. We need support structures, not only while they're inside, but when they get released, so that they are able to better integrate back into society after their extended stay behind bars. So some of the organizing that we're doing down here in Lackawanna County is, for years we've been pushing for a review of the solitary policy. We expect to have the review at next week's prison board meeting after several years. After COVID, they stopped allowing books to be brought into the library, claiming that there can be drugs printed on the pages, when we know how drugs get into the prison, and it's through the prison guards. Just last year, a guard was arrested and is facing charges for bringing drugs into the prison. Guards are allowed to just walk through without being searched, and that's obviously how drugs are getting into the prison. It's quite lucrative for them. So we've been pushing back against that, trying to have them bring books back into the prison, either through the Lackawanna County Library system so that everything could be vetted, or through the community organizations that were doing it prior to COVID. The county owns a machine that is able to scan books for drugs, so their reasoning doesn't make much sense to us. They expect that folks use their tablets. They're given tablets, and the time usage on the tablet is limited unless you pay for it. So it's another way of nickeling and diming the families of the folks who are incarcerated. It's a racket. They expect any of the law research and law library to be done on the tablets, as well as any of their mail and any outside communications, essentially. We've been organizing to push the amount of time that they're able to use the tablets for free up from 2 to 4 hours to 8 hours a day. They still use shackles in the prison. You could be tied down to a chair in the prison. Bodily autonomy has been a big buzzword the last couple of years, but it doesn't only relate to the women's right to choose or for trans folks to seek health care. It also applies to folks that are incarcerated that are shackled, but the hands, the neck, their waist, the feet, all tied up to limit their movement. Sometimes they are put into these positions for simply disobeying an order. If there's a cigarette butt in the yard and they're told by a prison guard to pick it up, but they don't smoke and they don't want to touch someone else's cigarette, they refuse to do something like that, they could be thrown in the hole for that. So that was one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to have at very least, the board review the policy. These are some of the most marginalized folks in our community. Not to mention, the intersection of most of them being people of color, poor folks, almost entirely working class. If you're in Lackawanna County, come and join us. We're going to be meeting every second Wednesday of the month at St. Luke's at 6 p.m. Feel free to come by. You don't have to know anything to get involved originally. Come, sit, learn. Even if you don't think that you could be helpful or useful, I'm sure that you can be. If you're not in Lackawanna County, there are some great organizations that do statewide work in Pennsylvania. The Prison Society, they will go into prisons and county jails and basically be a community watchdog, make sure that no folks are being mistreated, hear from folks about their experiences on the inside. Go to your local prison board meeting. In Pennsylvania, each county is required to hold a prison board. You can find your prison board online on your county website. Go stir some trouble. We've been doing it I've personally been doing it for 3 years now. And besides fighting for people in community, it's also a little fun to poke and prod your elected officials every now and then about what they should be doing. So I encourage you to do that.